So you've gone past the thumbnail call and you want to have a hack to be smarter. Um, it's not really a hack, but you'll just apply these things, my perspectives. These are kind of it works kind of for me. It's made me realize some things about my life, but this is how to be smarter. The reason I put complex theories and quantum mechanics is because I realized that the practices I've been using through my life had just fulfilled some of the prerequisites you need to understand, like quantum mechanics. Just because it's just it's loose it's a loose understanding of quantum mechanics and it's not very advanced, but I kind of understand some of the madness. If you're still interested, like, comment, subscribe. Comment, just give me more topics because I can literally talk about anything. And subscribe because I'll just be posting more videos. This is my first one. But let's get into it. So there's just 8 things to be smarter, and I put questions, understanding, bias, truths, perspectives, acceptance, practicality, and reflection. And I'll just break them down. So let me see what I'm talking about. And what I say, always doubt me, by the way. Like, just think about what I'm saying and actually some own research in your life and just online maybe, and apply them however you want in your own, like, biases, how they apply. So I think I'm good at what I like, at least, logic gate, fantasy, ethics, and scientific methods, and that's the kind of skills I would use to apply to my methodology. But the first thing is questions. Always ask questions. The basic different 5 W's, like who, what, where, why, when, and then the how. And because if you don't know something, it's best to ask the person who's telling you about it. And you can just be like an active listener, and it will make you seem more engaged and likable. So it's all around good. Even if you think you might seem stupid or ignorant, it's just best to ask questions. Next part is understanding. So, like I said, my interests, at least, maybe not talents, are logic gates, fantasy, ethics, and scientific methods. And you also have skills and talents as well, and interests. So it's about taking those positive things and applying to different places. Like, it's kind of like a discipline, kind of. So let's say in football you're good at tactics, and you take that kind of thinking and apply it elsewhere appropriately. About a couple of days ago, I looked up creativity and different types of it, and what came up was analogical creativity. And that's kind of what I apply. Is basically trying to take different concepts from other places and apply them. So the next one is bias. Everyone has biases. I do. I try to counter mine, but I still have them, and I will always have them. But I don't like them because they're kind of like approach something with blinders on, and you're just ignorant to other truths, and they can be unknowingly restrictive, which is why I don't like them. But they can give you rarity, which make you special, unique, yeah. And it's tied to your identity, how you perceive yourself, and how the public perceives you. So the first part I want to talk about is height or expertise. These are things that have a high barrier of entry or hard to learn for maybe because of the time resources needed or natural talent. The good example, like a time barrier, is like a Rubik's Cube. I don't think it's necessarily that hard, but I can do it, but it just requires time to learn how to do it. Or being a doctor takes a lot of time to learn how to do, or become, sorry. And those are examples of like expertise. Or you can have like a handyman, multidisciplinary approach, and that's just applying everything you know, but to your unique perspective. Because you might think you're basic, but you're not. You're a very unique person. You just have to go through everything you know, like everything you are, at least. Your country of origin, where you've been, where you've travelled, where you plan to go, those give you unique perspective. Your siblings, if you're the eldest, the youngest, if any of you died, if any older you, all of those things. If you have any half siblings, they give you a unique perspective. Your age is another one. The music you listen to, your interests, that's another one. Your parents and their jobs. If you have one parent, two parents. If you have 2 dads, 2 mums, those all give you a perspective. Your height is also perspective. All those things you might think are just like average and like common, like some people can be short, tall, but all of this together, that can give you a unique perspective. And that's what you have to apply and appreciate about yourself. Then you have truths. There aren't many absolute truths. Only like in maths maybe, because you have like tautologies and like things like there. I think therefore I am. But apart from that, most things are like relative truths. Sorry, which is, I love that. Like more relative truths. So when I learn about something, I don't take the statement to be entirely true. I don't say you're not right, but I'm not going to be prick about it. But if someone says something like cars are slow, I think, okay, how if cars are true? I imagine a scenario when the cars are fast, and if that's possible, and if it contradicts the cars are slow, then that means something is interesting is happening. You're not seeing the whole picture, or two things are being true at once. It's like using hypotheticals and like contradictions is a very good way to see if something is wrong or more complex than it seems. And another way of that, so with cars and scenario, another way is using a different example. Like instead of cars are slow, you say, are boats slow? Are boats fast? And that can help you. Or you say, are cars faster than boats? Are cars slower than boats? How fast they go? And all those kind of questions you ask yourself give you a better understanding of the simple question, are cars slow? And stuff like that. So you just permutate through different possibilities of the truth, like truth, false, maybe the percentage of truth, like 90% true, and like different types of car, or different types of vehicles of transportation, and they give you like a broader picture of the truth. The truth's like flexible, it's variable, it's continuous, it can also be absolute. It depends on what you want to do, but generally, I used to think mainly in absolute truths. I was very logical. I still am, but with things like things you don't know about, like things you can't understand everything about, like empathy. One thing a trick I used was I didn't really understand like pain that much. So when someone was in pain, even though I couldn't like feel it, I could basically go like, I remember the time I was in pain, and I could apply that I could be like, okay, that's how they're feeling now, like that kind of pain I remember. Even though it sounds like very like robotic, that's how I have to go about things sometimes. And what's about truth? So sometimes you just have to relax and just like let go of the truth, and you have to say, for just the sake of argument, you have to isolate some variables. So you just say, okay, I don't believe it, but I'm going to suspend disbelief and say this is true and this is false, and basically ignore it and focus on other variables. And that's a way to like simplify things, but you have to take that in consideration later. And it could either be because the truth is like too big or too small, and you could just kind of ignore it because of that. And that has to do like that links to other subjects like limiting factors and stuff. But yeah, it's really cool. Then you have perspectives. This links to your biases and interests. But for me, I love D&D and fantasy, so I can apply these here. And my different perspectives are that there's like 3 absolute rules of like D&D. Not really. I'm just saying that to be like fancy, but there's rules as intended, rules as written, and the rule of cool. And rules as intended is what the person who's writing the rules wanted people to do, but that doesn't always happen. But yeah, like Jeremy Crawford or something. There's rules as written, which is following the letter of the law and like ignoring your DM and saying, oh, but technically it says this, like a rules law, I suppose. And then there's the rule of cool, which is having fun. And all of these different things are different perspectives, and they also all apply to different plays as well, and different DM styles. So it's just about understanding complexity and being like empathetic, that people have different understandings, and multiple things can be true at once because of that. Especially in fantasy and D&D are all in your head. They're all theoretical, and things can be more easily true at once. Like multiple things can be true at once in like your head. And so with magic systems, I love this in fantasy, but they don't exactly like subscribe to reality, and I had to like kind of take a looser approach to like being like, okay, suspend disbelief and like allow it. So they can be like super complex and cool. Then there's acceptance. So you may notice just the way I think. I over prepare, overthink, and overthink, and then my brain hurts from all of it. And I had to measure whether thinking of more ideas is worth it or just writing it down. And because of this, I just jump from topic to topic. So if I think too much, I just move to like speaking. If I speak too much, I just move to writing, and I just cycle through them. And until they all hurt, then I have to do something else, which I'll talk about later. Yeah. Then there's practicality. This is being aware, being informed of the news, being informed of what's happening around you. Because all these theories are good, but if you can't apply them to real life and don't know what's happened, then they're useless. Practicalities are like technologies and on like not just like research, like isolated in labs, but like on a wide scale. That's kind of practical things, and it's really that I love stuff like that. I love like the theory to practicality, like scale, and the way I've practiced practicality. I'm using the word practical a lot. I look at scientific. I try to understand them as best I can. They're very well done, and you can look at Google Scholar or like Nature and stuff like that to look at them. But I'll talk about it later. If I can't understand a scientific article because it's complex, as that happens, then what I do is I make like a temporary like analogy, and I just hold that and try to force myself to pretend to understand, and I just fake it till I make it. That's a really important part of like complex theories. Just fake till you make it and use analogies, and eventually it kind of like clicks. Because to be honest, like when you're thinking about really complex theories, they're multidimensional, and so you can't really like understand them like with a simplistic mind. And if I don't understand something at first, I just go back to it and return later and see if I can understand it now later. Maybe I've relaxed, maybe I've done research. But when you're being practical, you have to be real. That's like think about resources, energy, stuff like that, and just chill kind of a bit. Be informed, like I said before, and just practice what you preach. There's no use just thinking about it, so you have to write it down. I don't want to put this here, but I'll sort of say it now because I kind of forgot to say it earlier. But with everything I'm saying, basically I kind of use like contradictions and like discrete and continuous like logic to kind of like understand things. And this is, by the way, this is before I was thinking about like quantum stuff properly. And if you guys know kind of a tiny bit about quantum mechanics, it's about basically like once you like observe a probability, it kind of collapses into like reality, into like discrete values. But until you see it, there's like a kind of observer effect where once you affect something, you have to receive information from it. You must have affected it, and you changed it. You can't. Once you observe something, you change it. Unless once something's in isolation, it can be like Schrodinger's cat, that kind of stuff. And now reflection. So I think about all these things I've said, and think about how they apply to me and the world around me. Usually, for me, it's like ethics, laws, politics. Those like migration. Those are kind of weird things, and genetics. Because like genetics and like race, people use like genetics as an excuse for like, a bunch of stuff, and they don't really like understand it. So yeah, I have like a really big like gripe about that, but whatever. And reflection is about so thinking about how they apply in the world, like just passively, not actively as much as practical. But sleeping, I have trouble with this. My mind's always active, but sleeping just lets my mind relax. It lets my mind refresh, and I can just dream. And I usually when I wake up, I have like graders. Sometimes to relax, I also listen to like instrumental music and lyrics as well, or like just cloud watching. Basically anything that has like a subjective answer to it. You can get different answers from different people, because when you do that, you're kind of looking at like static, and from the static you kind of create something that's like that comes from the ideas you've been thinking of, and it comes from your biased knowledge. but that's a very good deal of reflection. And at the end here, I've written efficiency, unifying theories, balance, and appropriateness. Now, I think your task is just to think about what those words mean to you, basically, and hopefully I organize this all properly. I've stumbled over my words properly. Maybe I'll put subtitles, but hopefully you understand the basic concepts of what I'm going for here. And always doubt me what I'm saying. Practice it. Doubt yourself as well. Your biases. Think about why you think something, why you react so emotionally, like bad, sad, repulsed to something, and really understand where it's come from. And also the structures in the world, like laws. Why are those in place? And doubt them and question why they're there. Don't take a truth for granted, basically. And if you liked all this, comment, like, subscribe, and share. Comment any topic you want. Basically, I can yap about anything. Like, I can research. I have an opinion about it, basically anything. Or one thing I want to talk about is like media spheres. How, because I only subscribe to like British and like American media, not on purpose, but it's just generally how it is. And so I want to see other like places with like big populations, like India or China or like Brazil, and just see how their media ecosystems work and see how things are like cultures completely different. Because I'm guessing there's things I haven't really thought about in that perspective, and it would help to like adopt my world view to different places. Why not? Subscribe. This is my first video. If you like things like this, I can literally yap about anything. So yeah, I can just talk about whatever. And then share if you think it will be useful to someone. I don't know, you found it helpful, someone else find it helpful. But this is, for me, it's helpful because when I was a kid, I didn't have like a lot of empathy. So I had to use logic to like substitute for empathy and pretend to subscribe to like social things, like opening the door for people or like looking people in the eye and like stuff like that. I just found it really annoying, but I knew how to do it until like one day I actually like kind of like got it because I practiced it so much and like understood the reason behind it. That's why I always ask why, to understand the reasoning. And I think that's it.